Okay, let's dive right into this explainer because we're unraveling a totally mind-bending macroeconomic mystery about this current wave of artificial intelligence. We're looking at some fascinating economic research today that asks a seemingly simple question about AI and jobs, but it actually uncovers this massive structural trap that competing companies are literally just walking right into. To give you some context, in 2025 alone, over 1 million job cuts were announced in the US, with AI explicitly cited in roughly 55,000 of them. And look, this isn't just some isolated tech sector phenomenon anymore, right? It's hitting a massive swath of the economy. We're talking everything from content moderation to customer support and even middle management. And the pace, it's accelerating so fast. I mean, when Block cut nearly half of its 10,000-person workforce in early 2026, their CEO, Jack Dorsey, issued this super chilling prediction. He said that within the next year, the majority of companies will reach the exact same conclusion about AI. This isn't some secret behind-closed-doors boardroom plan. It's a very public, industry-wide shift. Which brings us to our core focus for this explainer. You see, displaced workers aren't just statistics on a spreadsheet. They're consumers. They're you and me. They are the actual people buying the very products that these companies sell. So think about it. If laying off human workers destroys the consumer base, why on earth are rational, hyper-competitive firms sprinting toward this self-destructive demand cliff? Why automate your way to boundless productivity if you're just going to end up with zero demand for your stuff? Well, let's get into Section 1, the demand externality. To really solve this economic whodunit, we've got to look at how costs are being shifted around. It's kind of like splitting a massive check at a group dinner. When a firm automates a task from its own isolated view, it gets to keep 100% of those juicy labor cost savings. But the actual market reality, that individual firm absorbs only a tiny, tiny fraction of the lost consumer demand caused by firing that worker. It essentially just shifts the bill onto all of its rivals. Economists call this the demand externality. It happens because each automating firm just isn't internalizing the full social and economic cost of its actions. Because competitive pricing naturally spreads consumer spending across the whole market, a single firm drastically underestimates the true damage it's doing to aggregate demand. They are heavily financially incentivized to automate right now, today, even if they're collectively destroying their shared revenue base in the long run. It's wild. Which leads us to Section 2, the prisoner's dilemma trap. The elegant math behind all of this reveals a totally brutal trap known as the over-automation wedge. Now, you might normally think competition is healthy, right? But here, more competition actually worsens the race to the cliff. Why is that? Well, a larger number of rivals further dilutes each individual firm's share of the demand loss. Ironically, a pure monopoly would actually internalize the whole cost and hit the brakes. But in a fragmented, highly competitive market, the private incentive to hold back is just completely erased. And this absolutely definitively proves that this isn't just a simple wealth transfer from struggling workers to greedy firm owners. In the final equilibrium state, it's what we call a Pareto-dominated mutual destruction, which is just a fancy way of saying everybody loses. Workers lose their wage income directly, for sure, but firm owners eventually lose all their profits too, because literally nobody is left to buy their goods. Now, you might be sitting there thinking, wouldn't higher AI productivity fix this by expanding the overall economic pie? Actually, no. The research shows it aggressively amplifies the externality through something known as the Red Queen effect. Because better, highly productive AI gives a firm a temporary market share boost if they adopt it first, it forces every single other firm to run faster and automate more just to stay in the exact same place. So upgrading the tech just speeds up the race to the cliff. Okay, so what do we do about it? Section 3. Why standard fixes fail. When we systematically evaluate the most popular solutions, most of them completely fall short. Things like universal basic income and capital income taxes structurally fail to stop this over-automation race. I mean, they redistribute wealth, sure, but they don't change the underlying marginal per-task incentives that actually drive a firm to automate in the first place. Now, upskilling programs and worker equity mandates fare a little better by recycling some income, but mathematically, they just can't completely eliminate the externality on their own. Well, what about getting companies to simply agree to slow down together? This brings up Coasian bargaining. Even if firms sat down in a room to negotiate a collective restraint on AI layoffs, the dominant strategy nature of this prisoner's dilemma basically guarantees failure. It's always individually rational for a single firm to secretly cheat on that agreement because the cost savings are just too good to pass up. Therefore, voluntary agreements among firms are simply not self-enforcing. They're a pipe dream.
So, what does work? Section 4, the automation tax solution.
The answer actually lies in a classic economic tool called a Pigouvian tax. In this specific model, it's tailored as an automation tax. The brilliant thing about this policy is that it's a per-unit charge set exactly equal to the uninternalized demand loss that a firm imposes on its rivals. It perfectly aligns private incentives with market reality. Basically, if you automate a task and destroy a specific amount of the market's demand, you're charged for the exact amount of that destruction. It forces you to internalize the true cost.
In practice, this policy acts as this beautifully self-limiting bridge. First, you implement the Pigouvian tax to correct the firm's margins and halt the over-automation. Second, you use that tax revenue to actively fund retraining for those displaced workers. And third, as those workers rebuild their capacity to earn and spend, that income replacement naturally shrinks the required tax over time. It corrects the externality today while actively reducing the need for the tax tomorrow.
So as we wrap up this explainer, you really have to ask yourself, now that this economic trap is completely visible to everyone and the math behind this demand cliff is crystal clear, do we actually have the foresight to change the rules of the game before the consumers disappear entirely? Can our economy coordinate to build a bridge over the demand cliff, or will unchecked competition force us to just drive right off it? It is absolutely the most vital question for our automated future. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep questioning the systems around us.